So Sagittarius Moon. And before I go into how a Sagittarius Moon typically expresses itself, I just want to briefly mention how we are all the signs of the zodiac, essentially expressed in different degrees and intensities. And so sometimes we can have other elements, planets, energies within our chart that can essentially water down or overpower our moon sign. And so this is for someone who has a strong Sagittarius moon. So when you think of a Sag moon, you can think of someone who has a lot of energy, someone who's very optimistic, someone who loves to travel, someone who is very much into philosophy, religion, higher learning, just anything philosophical and about the concepts of life and why we're here. Because Sag is ruled by Jupiter and it's a mutable fire sign, this brings so many different qualities to the Sagittarius moon. So like I was saying before, Sagittarius moons can be very, very optimistic and have huge reservoirs of energy. Like they can just be super bubbly, and that all comes from that Jupiter. Because Jupiter is the planet of abundance, it's the planet of luck, it's the planet of expansion, and it's the planet of optimism. So literally Sagittarius is blessed with all of these qualities. So not only are they optimistic and open-minded and really open to different perceptions and different ways how to perceive situations and people and experiences, they're also extremely fun-loving. A Sag is always down for an adventure. They're always down for traveling, whether it's short distance or long distance, but you name it, if it's adventuring, if it's fun, if it's freedom, if it's rebellious, a Sag moon is right there with you. They're truly one of the freest signs, just like Gemini. That's where Gemini and Sagittarius really share their qualities, since they're sister signs, is they're both very optimistic, they're both very free, and they're both very fun-loving. In addition to, they both definitely know how to talk a lot, especially a Sag moon. Fire in general really knows how to talk, but a Sag moon has so much always going on within their mind that they always have something to give or something to say. So like I was saying earlier, since they are ruled by Jupiter, and this is the planet of expansion and growth, you can only imagine how deeply embedded that is in the Sagittarius energy. So when Sagittarius are really evolved and when they're going through their evolution process, they start really gravitating towards higher learning and towards philosophical concepts and conversations. They truly love to have these conversations about life, about the bigger purpose of things, about just questions that the everyday person might not think about or might not even want to know about. A Sag is going to really be that deep thinker and really think on a broad-minded scale about the world, about the universe, about existence, about energy, about reincarnation. I mean, you name it. A Sag moon just wants to really dive deep into the philosophies of life. And because of that, because they're so drawn to higher learning, to expanding themselves and growing, especially as they are really actively, directly ascending themselves, a lot of the times they are also blessed with abundance. And like I was saying, Jupiter is also the planet of abundance. So it's they really go hand in hand. Their optimism also brings them abundance because they really have the ability to stay open-minded, stay optimistic, and to keep going for their desires, keep going for their goals until they reach them. But not only that, just with them being so drawn to higher learning, they're naturally going to gravitate and start learning about abundance, how to create abundance, how to manifest abundance and wealth. So they get a double whammy with that abundance and with their luck. Once they learn to really evolve through their energy, though, that's the key, is that they have to learn to evolve into this energy before they get to, the really expansive luck and abundance. One other really great quality of the Sag moon is that they're very sexual, and Sag rules the hips, so they're really able to tap into that sexual part of themselves and really channel that energy into their everyday life, into their energy, into their work, their projects. So, Sag is this super bubbly, social, optimistic person that wants to learn, that wants to expand, that wants to teach people, because Gemini is the learner, they're the student, whereas Sag is the teacher. They like to teach what they learn. They like to, share and give it out to the world. So they have all these beautiful qualities, of course. But there's definitely some downsides to the Sagittarius moon, just like there is with any sign. So although Sagittarius are blessed with this beautiful, abundant, high energy, that fire also comes with a price. So as most people know, Sagittarius in general, but especially Sagittarius moon, can be very blunt, rude, and just too outspoken. Like when they have something to say or something to share, they just want to say it. They just want to get it off their chest. And while it's great to be direct and be assertive with what you think and what you feel, sometimes they're too outspoken, to the point where they need to like reel it back and really balance their throat chakra, so they're not just like saying whatever, comes to their mind and cutting people deep, just for the sake of getting out how they feel and releasing that energy. So they really have to learn how to work through that. It's great to be direct and assertive, but there's a way, to speak to people and to really, people are more receptive when we speak to them in a certain way, with love, with openness, with kindness. And so that's like one thing that Sagittarius can learn from Gemini, their sister sign, because Geminis are very lighthearted, especially with communication. And so Sagittarius can kind of learn from Geminis in that area. So in addition to that, that fire can also play out in their actions as well, not just verbally. And so they can resort to very destructive, like petty and nasty ways when they feel slighted, when they're, in their emotional energy. They can just resort to very, very low energies and low actions that they really have to learn to evolve from and not just go off of their impulse, because they have that mutable fire. So, any mutable sign can just go from extreme to extreme. So they really have to learn how to balance their fire energy and not just like go off the deep end, in any way that their fire energy manifests. But I truly believe that this is something that comes with the Sag energy. I believe that Sages have to, in a sense, go through their lower, 3D energies in order to ascend higher, in order to evolve into that very high, expansive, higher thinker, Sagittarius philosophical energy, especially the men. It's something that I've really seen with men with Sagittarius placements. They have to really, really go through their lower energies and rebirth themselves into their higher self, fully into their higher self, because it's always there. With women, I've noticed personally, I think women tend to be a little bit more verbally fiery and aggressive versus their actions, but it can go either way for either gender. But that's something that I've just noticed. So Sagittarius really have to learn how to just control their emotional nature when they're upset, because fire energy in general can be very high strung and just easily upset. Although it takes a Sag a long time to get upset, when they do get upset, it's typically not so pretty. So some other qualities that come with Sagittarius moon is that, they can be very rebellious. They do not like to conform. They do not like rules. They do not like authority, like Aquarius. But the thing is, while it's good to rebel and not be, conforming to what we know is not meant for us, sometimes Sagittarius can take that rebellion and that independence and freedom a little too far, to the point where they're not thinking about maybe how their actions are affecting, their loved ones, their family, their friends, the people that they're living with, because they're so tailored to their freedom and their rebellion that sometimes it can actually get in the way of their interpersonal relationships. So sometimes they have to learn how to kind of put their own rebelliousness and their own, honestly selfish desires to the side and learn how to merge with other people. So really just straying away from being too self-centered and their own desires of freedom and rebellious is really key. And one other quality that the Sag moon has within the shadow side is that they can be too sexual. And this is something that I've also noticed with men, but it's definitely within women too. But just because of the society that we live in, sex is just viewed differently when it comes to men and women, and so that plays out differently. And that's really what it is, more than it being about the gender. But essentially, a Sag moon can be very loose with their sexual energy. Like I was saying, they're ruled by the hips, so they have a lot of energy in their sexual centers, and so they can misuse that energy when they're not, working through their evolution and their ascension. And they can honestly just be like one of the biggest sluts around town. Like, I'm just gonna give it to you dry and straight, but they like it like that. They don't necessarily like to be tied down. They really enjoy their freedom, But they have to learn how to balance that, because just giving your sexual energy out all the time is not good for us. We bring on other people's energies, and it essentially can make it harder for us to go through our own evolution, because we have to go through all these other energies that we're absorbing and picking up on the way because of the sex. Just kidding. One more thing about the Sagittarius moon is that they can switch up on you very easily. So they're not a very loyal sign. They're very loyal to themselves and to their own desires, to be honest. And so when they're in more of their lower base energies and they're upset, they can really switch on you at the drop of a dime, just like Gemini, and show you a completely different side, a completely different person, and really just act and say, very, very low things. So they have to learn how to not explode and just go off the deep end with their fire energy, and really learn how to balance it and temper it. In the tarot, Sag is associated with the Temperance card, which is literally about balancing your physical and 3D ego world with your spiritual higher self 5D world. So if you have a Sag moon, or if you know someone with a Sag moon, a really great tip is higher learning. Dive into your higher learning. The faster that you get into that, the deeper that you get into that, the faster you will start to see your life and yourself evolving and ascending. And that'll just speak for itself. Not only that, once you really tapping into higher learning and philosophy, you really start getting into different perceptions and different ways of viewing life and situations and people, which really just adds and aids in your natural optimism. And that is your superpower. Your superpower is your optimism, and that's what helps bring you to your abundance and your goals, because you have the perception, the optimism to stay positive, to stay focused. That's why Sag has the horse with the arrow, the half horse and the arrow, because they're great with the earth plane. They really know how to use the earth plane to bring about their abundance, to bring about their desires, and they can literally use their arrow and boom, land right where they want to go and right where they want to be. And that's their superpower, and they use their optimism to help them get there even faster and further. So really tapping into that higher learning just gets you there 10 times faster. And that optimism is what other people also really need, because we can be distracted by our egos so easily. And so showing people that optimism and staying anchored in your optimism is also a beautiful talent and gift for other people. And last but not least, travel. Sagittarius love and they need to travel. They need to experience life. They need to experience other people, other cultures, just everything, other climates, anything you can think of. They need the experience to expand their minds, to expand their energy, to expand their self. So travel, and that will help you use the best of your Sagittarius energy, so that you don't resort to those lower energies of that Sag and that fire, that mutable fire. So it's like, on the one hand, you have someone who is very optimistic, very bubbly, someone who loves to have fun, someone who's always down for an adventure and loves to travel and loves to be social and loves to be free and funny and just crazy. But then on the other hand, you also have someone who can be very mean and very outspoken, too outspoken, very rude. They can resort to very low acts and behaviors. They can be too sexual, misusing their sexual energy, misusing their optimism, misusing their ability to learn and to ascend very fast. At the end of the day, a Sagittarius moon has everything that they need to truly manifest and ascend to whatever life that they really want. So that is a Sagittarius moon.